Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. Here's a special report for news update on the new hurricane that's getting ready to hit Florida. Here with Sarah Davis and we're giving you some pertinent information in that.
Yes.
Sarah?
We are here. We are here the second time in 2 weeks, Jeffrey. I don't want to do this, right? We are not the Weather Channel. We don't get paid if more weather comes. We don't want this to happen. And so the first and foremost is there's so many people still recovering from Helene. And now we are seeing this hitting Florida head on. Or I guess side on, but it is going to weirdly do things to resources, and we have all the resources we need. So many states that obviously aren't impacted are helping and sending people, and we have so many people on the ground ready to help. And I mean we as in a country, not we as in any specific organization, but there are hundreds of nonprofits out there that are doing what they need to do, as well as FEMA and the government are doing what they need to do. In fact, if you search for it, there are some guys that are transporting things like food and water and baby products up into the mountains of the Carolinas on donkeys, because so many roads are out. They're actually packing donkeys with 200 pounds apiece and heading up the mountain with them. It's kind of amazing what people do to pull together in times like this. And
that's mostly local resources.
Yeah.
And like that, because you see on the media and stuff like that, the horror stories or what's coming out, bans on this, bans on that. But you see a lot of local people coming together and not having any hidden agenda. It's just people helping people in need and stuff like that. And that's what makes America great.
It really is. It really is. And there's been a few misnomers out there about what's being helped and what isn't. But I do want to address one thing, because I actually had a conversation with somebody earlier today about people being turned away with assistance. So there's only 2 reasons. There's my camera. 2 reasons. My cap's like way over here. 2 reasons that things would be turned away. One is if the road is washed out and you can't get through, a cop may say, you can't come through here. You'll get turned away. And I think everybody can understand that, right? We don't need other cars washing away or you trying to get through something that you can't get through. The other thing is, though, is that there has been, it was something like 15 and we're talking Helene here, 15 near misses and that's where planes almost hit each other in the air, because people are trying to fly in things without letting the FAA know. So call ahead and they'll find a way for you to land if you have a plane or a helicopter. Please just call ahead. They're not turning away supplies. They just need you to call ahead. And the same thing's going to happen to Florida. And we're already 4 minutes into this, so I want to make sure we start talking about Milton, because that's happening here within the next 24 hours, right? Sometime tomorrow, and I don't have that exact time, sometime tomorrow it is going to hit Florida head on in the Tampa area, but it's going to be encompassing 90% of Florida, because this storm is so wide, okay? And it's going to dump rain. At the bare minimum, it's hitting a category 2, but it's more than likely going to hit a category 3 when it hits landfall, okay? Right now it's a 5. It's going to lower as it gets towards the land. But people need to be prepared. And we talked a little bit about this last time, like 2 weeks ago. But you need to be prepared, right? And if you can do a lot of these things that we're going to talk about today, that's wonderful. If you can do some of them, that will be even better. Jeanette says it's going to hit at 2 a.m.
Right.
And we're going to get Jeanette on this call here shortly. because she is in Florida, and she is going to be impacted by this.
Actually, I got her on the line right now.
Does she just want to join the live?
Hey, can you join? Can you join live?
No, but I can do a phone call.
Okay, she's on the phone right now.
All right, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
So, Jeanette?
yeah, I have messages from all my Floridians. It's called To Sum It Up. I put it on my Facebook even, but I'm gonna read it, and so everybody can know, how things really are around here. So it says, "Dear everyone who doesn't live in Florida but loves someone who does, here's some things you need to know about the hurricanes. They don't come until they come. So if you ask us how we are 72 hours before we expect the winds to start, don't be surprised if we tell you we're fine. Please believe us. We're actively preparing and we're watching the forecast more closely than you are, but we're truly fine at the moment. Hurricanes are unpredictable. No matter how good the models are, hurricanes often demonstrate a mind of their own. We're always hoping and praying for the turn or wobble that sends the monster further from civilization. But if you ask us what's going to happen 3 to 4 days from now, we honestly don't know for sure, and neither do the meteorologists. An entire state can't evacuate. Everyone packing up, jumping into their cars and heading north may seem like a great idea. However, the truth is that those of us safer inland regions generally need to stay put to reserve the roads, gas, hotel rooms, shelters, plane tickets for the most vulnerable folks who live on the coast in the storm's path, where evacuation orders exist. Some inland folks may choose to leave, but most of us stay put and follow the instructions of our local governments. We truly appreciate your love and your concern, the offers to stay in your homes, etc. Know that the national media is doing a pretty good job of stirring up your anxiety. Our local weather teams are much calmer and more knowledgeable about the hurricanes' effect on our area. They're working nonstop to give us updates and telling us to prepare. We trust them. When the tie comes off, the sleeves are rolled up and we're told to hunker down and we're ready. Of course, we're worried, but we're trying to do all the right things to prepare and not to freak out. Thanks for offering words of love and encouragement and not jumping to the freak out wagon. It just makes it harder on us. Your friends in Florida and loved ones, ask us how we are after it passes."
All right. Thank you for those kind words, Jeanette. Hey, I have a question. I have a question for you. As far as resources and stuff like that, it's less than 2 weeks ago that Hurricane Helena hit Florida and then went up through North Carolina and that. How are the prices on resources down there? Have they stayed steady, or have people been price gouging?
Yeah, let me tell you that. Basically, we're going through what price hikes. You got some stores that are doing price hikes. The majority of the part, all the gas stations, like 2 gas stations that are near me, they have no gas. Walmart is out of water, and we are dealing with people, of course, being cautious and things like that. But mostly the people, like where I live, they're staying put. We're right here in this building due to the fact that we are basically, it is safer. These buildings were built in 1984. They're not going to fall down anytime soon. They are here to stay. It's like, it almost reminds me of the little piggy, the 3 Little Pigs story. How huff and a puff and a blow your house down. Well, this here brick, it ain't falling down anytime soon. So we're good. I have a secure closet also in case anything happens. My neighbor upstairs is staying. My neighbor on the right is staying. My neighbor on the left is staying. Pretty much we got each other covered. I have a generator that'll be fit for all of them because I can put it outside and people can put the plugs whatever they need. They got the orange eye. We all have been working together, very friendly, talking about, hey, you got meat and we'll cook it down here in the grill. We're just we're having a good old time getting ready for this storm. So please don't worry about us. Like that story said, just call us afterwards to see how we're doing. The most I expect to happen here is that we lose power. But again, I have a generator for that, and my refrigerator and cabinets are packed. I have a bag to go if need be, but I doubt it. That's going to happen. We're inland. We're a little bit more inland, So
how many miles from the coast are you?
We also have people that if they need a place to stay, that they live in the coastal area, they can feel free to call me, and you can give my number at 574-217-3937. I have a room extra if anyone needs it, and plenty of food to share.
All right. And Sarah, you had a question for Jeanette?
How many miles from the coast are you?
About 55 minutes. And that's about 50 miles, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, about 50 miles inland. So, but that's good. And I appreciate you opening up your house and that for, people to come in and, hunker down with you.
You know us, we're military strong, huh?
You got that right.
Gonna keep rolling.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette, for that update and that.
You're
welcome. We'll check in with you periodically to make sure that you're okay. And that,
all
thanks,
right,
thanks for the call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, and then we'll go ahead and bring up the weather channel here. I'll share it there. And Sarah?
Yeah, let me see if I can refresh here if it's still going to show it. So yeah. So this is the current satellite, at least it was like 15 minutes ago. So as you can see, it's right over here by Cancun. We're still quite a bit away from, Florida. But it's going to be heading straight there towards Tampa. And you're like, well, here it looks like it's curving, right? But
more towards Miami.
Yeah. Right? We're going to go down here and we're going to look at this. Okay. So this is actually where it's going to go because of wind and other weather patterns and things like that. If you are a weather geek, you can go and look at it yourself. But this is the basics. So basically, Thursday morning, it'll be going from about 125 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour when it hits land. Okay, so right now it's 155. And it's going to be hitting land right there at about 100 miles an hour. Now, we just spoke to Jeanette. She's like 55 miles inland. So it's going to be a little bit less than 100 by the time it hits her, right?
Right.
But the thing is, so here is the spaghetti models. Now, I don't know if anybody ever follows spaghetti models, but this is the most linear set of spaghetti models that I've ever seen. And what this means is there's a lot of people who forecast the weather, okay? Not only at the Weather Channel, but at NOAA, at different places. And those spaghetti models are all put into one. And spaghetti model is the projection that you think the storm is going to go. And sometimes people think, oh, it's going to go way up here or way down here or whatever. And you never know for sure. This one, everyone is 100% agreeing it's hitting the Tampa area head on. There is no one that's like, it's going to veer up, it's going to veer down. Everybody is saying it's hitting Tampa head on. And that is kind of scary to have that many people agree on something, right? Like, which makes it more than likely 100% valid. The storm surges, though, are the bigger problem. And the coastal areas are where this happens the most. Obviously, the further you get inland, storm surge doesn't happen. But when you're looking at 10 to 15 feet of storm
Right.
surge, that means the water is higher by 10 to 15 feet. And, that water has to go somewhere. So it starts going inland. This is anybody on the coast there in Tampa, 10 to 15 feet means your first floor is flooded.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And the 5 to 10 feet, which is, north and south of that, probably means the same thing. Now, when you get up to the 1 to 3 feet and the 3 to 5 feet, you might not have your first floor flooded because it might go into your basement, your crawl space, your yard might be able to take it in. You might have enough bags to, block the water, the sandbags from water from coming in, things like that. But it's something to think about. If you're in these areas, even Jeanette mentioned, people in the coast are the ones that have to worry about evacuating. These are the people that if you're still listening to me and you're in Tampa, I hope you have a great plan. And maybe you're trying to drive somewhere.
Right.
Go ahead.
Now for us, okay, like the 10 to 15 feet, that area between, it looks like the Air Force base there down in, I can't think of the Air Force base there. And then up by let's see, that would be the 10 to 15 feet, the city up in that area. I think that's like Clearwater. And then down there is by St. Paul, down just south of
St. Petersburg, but yes.
St. Petersburg. Now, do they know if it's going to be low tide or high tide?
If peak surge occurs at high tide, I don't know. Jeanette just told me at 2 a.m. is when it's hitting, but I don't know what tide times are this time of year for Florida.
Right. Because like you said, if it's at high tide, then it's going to be more of even a bigger surge versus low tide, because then the low, because it takes a little bit more water to, but if it's at high tide, expect a lot more water coming in. And then it's got to displace, it's got to go somewhere. And it's going to take a lot of stuff with it.
It does. And the problem is that Florida already has a lot of water, right? It's surrounded by water. There's a lot of, swampy areas, i.e. the Everglades are there, right?
Right.
It has so much water already. There's very few places for the water to just go. And it's easier to flood places that have more water, that are already swampy, because the water doesn't have any place to go.
Right. And then, like you said, the Tampa area and stuff like that. What was the mayor saying?
The mayor did of Tampa. She did a interview yesterday, saying that she's 60 some years old, and this will be the largest hurricane to hit the Tampa area in her lifetime. So they're expecting this one to be the largest in her lifetime. And that's kind of scary. That's something to not want in the history books, right? We don't want those things to happen. So yeah. And then we get to the, I want to touch base on the wind threats, right? So in the Tampa area, 110 mile an hour winds are what they're anticipating at the peak, when the highest wind that will hit Tampa. But 110 mile an hour winds. And I know we made jokes the other day about Jeanette's dog, right? We need to make sure that Laverne's tied to something if she goes out to go to the bathroom. But in a sense, obviously, we're not worried about Laverne. Jeanette's not going to let anything happen to her. But what you want to think about, though, is the things that are out in your yard for 110 mile an hour winds, or even those 70 and 58 mile an hour winds that you're not used to. A chair can go through a window. It can get whipped up and cause damage that you didn't think about ahead of time. So make sure that the things in your yard are either, put them in the garage, tie them to each other so that they weigh more, and they can't just get whipped around.
Right.
Go buy a couple of, big cement blocks and set them on top of things if you need to. Just kind of think about those things, because those little things that, like a chair, can cause damage to your slider door, and then rain comes in and it exponentially can cause things worse that wouldn't have happened.
Now, as far I can remember, I have family relatives down there in Florida too.
Sure.
Over by New Smyrna, by Daytona, in that area. I was stationed down in Cocoa Beach, Florida, for a while there. That's on the Atlantic side of Florida, and I can remember filling in sandbags and putting them inside the door frames, the screen doors and stuff like that, and piling them up the door, so the water wouldn't get in, and stuff like that, and just things like that, They do have like local areas where you can fill sandbags for free.
I don't know where all those are though. So definitely call any local, government offices, and they, call your mayor's office, call your, even your fire department would know those answers of where you can go to get sandbags. But if you're not in, I'm going to go back up here. If you're not in the coastal zone with those surge problems, you're going to get a lot of rain and you might get some flooding. But if you're 55 miles in, like Jeanette, sandbags, if you're maybe in a valley or something, might help. But honestly, focus more on the wind problems, in my opinion, if you're further inland, because you're going to be in that 4 to 7, 3 to 5, 2 to 4 range of rain, which is still a lot. But the wind is going to be the bigger problem for people that are inland. And then Jeanette said, yes, sandbags are free, and to call someplace locally to find out where you would get them in your area.
All right.
So,
and like you said, the objects, like the chair and stuff like that. Those are like projectiles and stuff like that.
Exactly. Right.
And you take a look at a rifle or whatever, the projectile. I've seen where, like you said, like a metal chair or whatever. I've seen it go through or embed actually in a cinder or in the side of a brick house. Where it actually penetrated the brick. It didn't go through it, but it did some good damage in that, at 100 miles an hour,
Right. But you're talking about a metal chair going into brick. I agree. But a plastic chair at the right speed, which is 100, possibly 110 mile an hour winds, that can go through a slider window.
Right.
That's the thing that I'm afraid of for people, right? So yes, your metal chairs could go through the slider window also. Please tie those down also. But if you're thinking, if my chair ends up in the neighbor's yard, who cares? I don't care if it ends up in the neighbor's yard. I care if it ends up in your kid's bedroom at 2 a.m.
Right.
So that's what you want to think about.
Right. Or down the road, or, where it flies unprotected, I guess I should say, where it builds the velocity or the weight of it when it hits. And most pain, or the most down there, are hurricane. The windows are made for hurricane resistance, so it has a plastic shield. It's not bulletproof glass,
right,
but it's more shatterproof. Where when it hits, it may shatter, but it won't. Like the old time.
Right. It's made like a windshield glass versus like the old glasses. but not everyone has that. But I do have a tip in from a person who should have just stayed online with us, but we're not going to say names, Jeanette. So she has just sent me a thing though, and it is something I want to mention. While I personally have never lived in a hurricane area, and I say if you can leave, leave. And I still agree with that. I do want you to know that you should only leave if you have to leave, right? I'm gonna put that disclaimer, because right now the roads are at a standstill with people trying to leave. And the last thing you want is for a hurricane to be coming in at 2 a.m. and you on the road when that happens.
And being stuck in traffic.
Yes. So if you're stuck in traffic and you don't have to leave, if it's not necessity, either go home, or if you're not already in your car and you're debating leaving, go maybe inland instead of trying to leave the state. Do something, but if you can stay home and, be safe, stay home and be safe, because if you Google right now, the roads are at a standstill of people trying to get out. And part of that is because where people would normally go got hit by a hurricane 2 weeks ago. Right. So a lot of times people go up to, the Panhandle if it's in the south, or they go south if it's hitting the Panhandle, or they go to Georgia or the Carolinas for a few days because it's, a 10-hour drive and they can make it there and make it back home after the hurricane. Those places can't take you right now. And that's causing some of this also. I'm assuming some of this backup.
Yeah, most definitely. And then like go back up a little bit to there you go. The 3 to 5 foot area there. Down there by Fort Myers. I have an aunt that lives down there, and they just recuperated, I think, from that hurricane that came through a couple years ago. And she got her house all together, and now here comes another one. I'm having prayers out for her. She's down there right now. Hopefully, she'll fare this very well. And that, but even 3 to 5 feet, that's window level.
It is if you're on the coast. Yeah. Right. It's and that's the thing. I want the storm surge when you're watching this. Floridians understand what I'm saying. As everybody else that's watching this, like, oh my gosh, 3 to 5 feet of water. It's the storm surge. It's the coastal people that'll be mainly impacted. Okay. The inside, like the people that are more centrally located in the state, they're going to get dumped on by rain, and I can't guarantee they're not going to get some flooding. That I'm not going to provide, be living in a fantasy world, but the coastal people are the people that are going to be impacted by this storm surge. So right. If you're, 2-3 miles inland, like you are the people that this is mattering. If you're, 4+ miles inland, that storm surge it could impact you, but it's more likely just the rain that is going to be impacting.
Sure.
And you can still get flooding. I'm not saying you won't, but it's a little bit of a different factor than the storm surge. So
hey, we just got like the emergency alert update for Florida right now. Okay, everyone living in zones A, B, and C, or in mobile homes must leave now. Okay. That's in zones A, B, and C, or in mobile homes, please leave now, okay? And they have local shelters that you can go to. And here's the service number that you can call for customer service is 727-847-2411. Again, that's 727-847-2411. And that. So I'll get that on the banner here, down on the bottom here, the telephone number where you can call to find out where a nearest shelter is for you.
I'm going to put it in the comments here. Maybe.
So, and like I said, we'll get you that to um, for shelters near you for zones A, B, and C, or anybody living in mobile homes.
And just so you know, most of the shelters, if not all, definitely call that number. But most of the shelters, if not all, are set up by the Red Cross. So you can always call 1-800-RED-CROSS to find out where the local shelter is. And after the hurricane, if you need assistance, you can always call the Red Cross also. And then we have a banner going across. Let's turn off the weather thing here just for a second. I think that banner will come back up. Right. We have a banner going across that gives you a FEMA website that also tells you how to contact people locally and how to, what number to call if you need an emergency evacuation. So if you didn't leave and you know, it's after the hurricane or during the hurricane or whatever's happening and you need emergency evacuation, that number is on that website. So this number here that you're getting in the chat that he's gonna, that 727 number, is to check for shelters that are open now. 1-800-RED-CROSS can give you shelters that are open now. But if something happens and you need an emergency evacuation after the hurricane or during the hurricane, but I don't know if they'll be able to come get you during the hurricane, then you call the number that's on the FEMA website that's scrolling across the screen. I don't see that scrolling anymore. Did that stop, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I was just updating the telephone number and the 1-800 Red Cross.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And that, so yeah. But yeah, so I mean, like you said, here, let me share this again here. And you know, it's nice that they have these shelters and that, and like you said, for locals and that, and then for people that are vacationing there during this time frame, you know, that came in and flew in and that, or they have to change their flights and stuff like that. Check your, you know, local airports and that to see if your planes have been canceled or have been delayed or have been rerouted. And that I remember that you were going down there during, was that after or just before the hurricane?
So Helene hit on Thursday and I flew in Friday night. And a lot of flights were canceled and or delayed. And that was because of emergency people needing to get in and out. So usually the 24 hours after a hurricane is, you know, FEMA, Red Cross, other nonprofits getting people into the area to provide assistance. And those people get priority on planes. So please be patient with the airlines. Trust me, it is not their fault that flights got grounded. And it's not their fault if people get pushed off flights for emergency workers to be able to get to emergency situations. So please be patient with the airlines. Trust me, they do enough crap. You can get mad at them year round. Don't get mad at them during things they can't control because they're told when to ground the flights. They're not doing it themselves. Right. It's based on weather and based on need. So.
Okay. All right.
But I think that the answer is keep an eye on your weather. Keep an eye on your local weather, right? Because that's where you're going to get the things that we just talked about with you know, mobile homes needing to evacuate, the different zones, things like that. The Weather Channel, like national weather, isn't going to give you that localized information. So make sure you're following the local weather so that you know those things in your local news channels. And then I just heard, and this is what happened with Helene to Tampa Airport, because it's so close to the water, it closes down. So they had to close during Helene simply because of the rain and stuff. But now because of it, they're actually closed right now. So, and a lot of other airports within Florida will do that if they haven't already. They'll be closing within, at least a few hours of it hitting, but more than likely they're going to close earlier than that to make sure that people can get flights out, but they won't take any more flights in. So yeah, check. There is an app. Let me get this app really quick. It is called Flight Aware. Flight Aware. So you can put your flight number in there with your last name, and it will give you updates on your flights. And it's connected to, directly to the FAA, directly to all the weather things and stuff like that. And it's way more up to date. So like last Friday or 2 Fridays ago when I was flying, that was giving me quicker updates than my actual airline was. My airline was like, oh, we don't know yet, right? The people at the gate. And FlightAware was like, you're delayed till 8:30. It's like, am I delayed till 8:30? Oh, we weren't supposed to tell you that yet. It's like, so FlightAware is the name of the,
So,
yeah.
hey, Jeanette just sent me a local live with JB and Eric.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a live update on Hurricane Milton threatens Tampa and that. And so here's just a little update.
This is great. Yeah. Temple, first floor, brick apartment, 1.3 miles from Hillsborough River, south of Fowler, between Whiteway, Bush Boulevard, east of 56th Street. My God, I think there's a really good diner there that I like to go to. Really? Pretty close to it. Okay. Well, it's not on 56. I think it's closer to Nebraska, I believe is there. Well, anyway, or maybe 41. Either way, looks like you're going to be far enough away from any surge. Although, again, with this, moving south of you, you're not going to worry about the surge. The one thing I'm concerned about, again, north of the storm is the rainfall amounts of up to 12 inches of rain in a short period of time. So if you're in a low-lying area that typically floods even on a rainy season day, regardless if you're in Temple Terrace or you're somewhere else north of the track, there's going to be some flooding. There's going to be inland flooding in low-lying areas. And if you have a vehicle that,
yeah, and that's what we were talking about. So this is a local area TV channel. Definitely, if you're in Florida, listen to your local channels. They're going to be able to tell you like road by road. They're going to be able to tell you areas that are flooded, and they're going to be able to give you more intricate details about the area you're in. And then also, go ahead.
Even if the roads are closed, or even if they're, like with people moving north, you're saying, hey, avoid this area because of heavy traffic, maybe take an alternate route and stuff like that. And it's nice to be able to have that on your phones. So if you are evacuating, and that, stay tuned or try to stay tuned to your local news, so they can give you up to date road advisories and stuff like that. And
and most television channels have a radio version of their TV channels. So if you don't know the local radio channels, right? Because you don't want music, you want to actually listen to the news of what's happening. Go online before you lose power and go to your local TV channel, and you can find the radio channel that corresponds with it. Right. So, but anyways, I think we have delved into this pretty deep. I think people understand that they need to stay safe. And I think that I don't want to do this again in 2 weeks. So at the bare minimum, I'm telling the, weather people to keep the hurricanes away and send us something different.
Right. So. And like I said, for our special reports now for our channel, we just don't cover hurricanes, I guess.
No, it just happened to be hurricanes when we started.
Yeah, the last two have been hurricanes, so we are going to be tracking tornadoes and forest fires like the ones out in California, out in Washington and Oregon states, you know, and even up in Canada where, you know, that last fire up there in Canada, all that smoke. I'm in Maryland, all right, okay, and I'm just north of the Mason-Dixie line, and we had smoke advisories from the fires from Canada. You know,
we did too.
I mean, like you said, it impacts a lot of area, you know, in that. So, thank you for watching with us and that, and we'll keep you updated on special news in that and that. So, thank you for watching. Sarah, any more advice or anything? Last minute advice?
No, no last minute advice, except I do still think that Jeanette should have been on this one with us because she did have some bad news to round things out with. There is another hurricane coming next week. So we will keep an eye on that. And we hope it just stays out in the water and piddles out on its own. So you guys have a great afternoon. Stay safe out there and keep watching the Creative Spirit channel for more news updates and all the creative shows that we have.
All right. Okay. And then, like I said, she doesn't want us to say bye yet.
Yes, she does. We're good. She said we did a good job. So we're
basically says stand by because we'll have more updates in that on this hurricane that's coming up. And maybe we can go live when it sort of hits landfall, so we know where the projection, where the surge is going to be at, and give viewers updates on how the projected path is, and maybe we can find out if it's low tide or high tide when it hits.
We can, but it's going to hit at 2 a.m. You want to go live at 2 a.m?
You bet. I don't
know about that. I don't know about that, but we can talk about it.
Okay.
But yes, we will go live again, and we will see you all soon.
All right, here we go. Thanks for tuning in.